Gas stations are never completely empty, even when they look like it. Even when the parking lot is silent and the road stretches into darkness, there's always something, someone, watching, waiting, especially after midnight. Because that's when the normal people leave, and the others show up. Ethan had just started working night shifts. Small gas station, edge of town, quiet, too quiet. Most nights, nothing happened. A few cars, a few customers, then long stretches of silence. He liked it, at first. Less stress, less people, more time to relax. But there was one thing he couldn't get used to. The feeling that he wasn't alone, even when the place was empty. That night started normal. Cold air outside, dim lights flickering above the pumps, the hum of the refrigerators inside. Ethan sat behind the counter, scrolling through his phone, half paying attention, half trying to stay awake. The clock read 2:11 a.m. Then, the bell rang. The door opened. Ethan looked up. A man walked in. Slow, quiet, head slightly down. Ethan nodded. "Hey," no response. The man didn't look at him, didn't speak, just walked past the aisles, toward the back of the store. Ethan frowned slightly. Weird, but not unusual. Some people just didn't talk. He went back to his phone. A few minutes passed. Then, he realized something. The man hadn't come back. Ethan looked up. The aisles were empty, the back of the store, silent. Too silent. "Hello?" Ethan called. No response. He stood up, walked around the counter, his footsteps echoing softly. He checked the aisles. Empty. Checked the bathroom. Empty. Checked the back room. Locked. No one inside. Ethan's chest tightened. That's not possible. There was only one exit. And the bell hadn't rung again. No one had left. Then he heard it. A sound. From behind the counter. A soft tap. Ethan froze, slowly turned. The counter was empty, nothing there. Then another tap. From below. Ethan stepped closer, heart beating faster. He leaned down slightly and looked under the counter, and instantly jumped back. There was someone there, the man, crouched, smiling, staring directly at him. Ethan stumbled back. "What are you doing?" The man didn't respond, just kept smiling. Then, slowly, he started crawling out, but something was wrong. Very wrong. His movements weren't normal, too slow, too stiff, like his body didn't bend properly. Ethan backed away. "What do you want?" The man stood up, too tall, too straight, his head tilted slightly. "You're alone." Ethan's heart started pounding violently. "No, I'm not." Then, the lights flickered, once, twice, then they went out. Complete darkness. Ethan's breathing became loud, uncontrolled. He fumbled for his phone, turned on the flashlight. The beam shook in his hand. He pointed it forward. The man was gone. Completely gone. Ethan spun around, checked everywhere. Nothing. No sign, no movement, just silence, heavy, unnatural silence. Then, a voice, right behind him. "I know you are." Ethan screamed, turned, the flashlight beam cutting through the dark. Nothing. But something felt closer, much closer. Then, the bell rang. The door opened, light flooded in. Ethan turned. A car had pulled up outside. A normal customer, walking in. Ethan rushed forward, relief flooding in. "Hey!" The customer looked at him, confused. "You okay?" Ethan nodded quickly. Yeah. He turned back, looked toward the store. The lights were on again. Everything normal. No man, no movement, nothing. Just empty aisles. The customer paid, left. Ethan stood there, trying to understand, trying to calm down. Then, he checked the security monitor, his hands shaking. He rewound the footage, watched, and his blood ran cold. Because the camera showed something impossible. It showed Ethan, standing behind the counter, alone, talking, reacting, backing away, screaming. But there was no man, no customer, no one else in the store. Just him, talking to nothing. N__. The next morning, None ___. Ethan quit. Immediately. But before he left, the manager told him something. Something he couldn't explain. Serious. Told us about a man who comes in late, pause, and never leaves. Gas stations feel different at night. Not just quiet, not just empty. Different. Like they exist outside of everything else. Like time slows down there. Like whatever happens isn't supposed to be seen. Rachel worked the overnight shift. Same routine every night. Lock the back door, check the pumps, sit behind the counter, wait for the occasional customer. Then silence. Long stretches of silence. She was used to it, mostly. But there was one thing she couldn't ignore. The parking lot. Because no matter how empty it looked, she always felt like something was out there, watching. That night was colder than usual. Wind pushing across the empty road. The flickering lights above the pumps barely holding on. Rachel stood behind the counter, arms crossed, trying to stay warm. The clock read 3:08 am. Then, headlights. A car pulled in slowly. Too slowly. Rachel straightened up, watched. The car moved across the lot, stopped near pump 3. Engine still running, lights on. But no one got out. Rachel frowned. That's weird. She waited. 1 minute, 2 minutes, nothing. No movement, no door opening, just the car. Sitting there, running. Rachel stepped closer to the window, trying to see inside. The windshield was fogged, completely, like the heat inside was on high. But she couldn't see anything. No silhouette, no movement, nothing. Hello? She called out softly. Of course, no one heard her. She grabbed her jacket, stepped outside. The cold hit immediately. Sharp, biting. She walked slowly toward the car, her footsteps echoing across the empty lot. Too loud, too exposed. She reached the driver's side, knocked on the window. Nothing, no response. She wiped part of the glass, looked inside. Empty. The seat was empty. No driver, no passenger. But the engine was running. Rachel stepped back slightly. That's not possible. Then, a sound, from behind her. A car door, opening. Rachel turned instantly. The gas station. The entrance door, still closed. No one there. Then, another sound. Closer. A slow footstep. Rachel's heart started pounding. Fast. Too fast. She turned back to the car, and froze, because the driver's door was now open. Wide. She hadn't touched it. Rachel stepped back slowly, her breathing uneven. That's not right. Then, a voice, from inside the car. Low, whispering, get in. Rachel shook her head. No. The voice came again. Closer. It's warm. Rachel backed away further, her instinct screaming now. Run, go back inside. But she couldn't move, because something felt wrong. Not just fear. Something deeper, like the car, wanted her closer. Then, the headlights flickered. Once, twice, and for a split second, Rachel saw something, in the back seat. A shape. Sitting. Watching. Then, darkness. The light steadied again. The car looked empty. Completely empty. Rachel turned, ran, back toward the store, her boots slipping slightly, her breath visible in the cold air. She reached the door, pulled it open, stepped inside, locked it instantly, her hands shaking. What was that? She looked back outside. The car was still there, engine running, door open. But now, the headlights were off. The entire lot was darker, heavier. Rachel backed away from the window, trying to calm down, trying to think. Then, a sound, from behind her, inside the store. A drip, slow, repeated. Rachel turned slowly, the aisle, empty. The refrigerators humming softly. Everything normal, too normal. Then, the bell rang. The door opened, Rachel spun around. The door was still locked. No one had entered. But the bell had rung. Rachel's chest tightened. No. Then, the voice. Inside the store now, closer, you left. Rachel turned, slowly, and saw it, standing near the aisles, a figure, tall, still, watching her. Its clothes, covered in frost. Its skin, too pale, too still. I was waiting. Rachel stumbled back, her heart pounding violently. You weren't in the car. The figure tilted its head, slow, unnatural. I am the car. Rachel froze, her mind unable to process. Then, the lights flickered, violently, and for a moment, everything changed. The walls looked frozen, the air thicker, colder, and the figure was closer, much closer. Then, darkness, complete darkness. Rachel screamed. Then, silence, _. The next morning, the police report was simple. The gas station was empty. Rachel was gone. No signs of struggle, no evidence, nothing, except one detail. The security footage. It showed the parking lot. At 3:08 a.m., a car pulling in, stopping. And then, slowly, driving away. But no one was inside. There's something about night shifts. Time feels different. Hours stretch longer. Silence gets heavier. And the longer you stay awake, the more your mind starts to play tricks on you. Or at least, that's what people say, because it's easier to believe it's in your head than to accept something else, something worse. Because sometimes, it's not your mind. Sometimes, it's something watching you, waiting for you to notice. Caleb had been working the night shift for almost a year. Same gas station, same hours, same routine. He knew every sound, every light flicker, every small detail. Nothing surprised him anymore. Until that night. It started like every other. Cold air outside, empty road. No customers, just the low hum of machines. Caleb stood behind the counter, half awake, half bored. The clock read 3:00 a.m. Then, everything stopped. Not slowly, not gradually, all at once. The hum, gone. The lights, gone. Silence, complete. Caleb looked up. What the? He checked the breaker. Nothing. The entire station was dead, pitch black. Except for one thing, the emergency light, at the back, flickering, weak. Barely enough to see. Caleb grabbed his phone, turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, shaking slightly. Just a power outage, he said it out loud, trying to convince himself. Then, a sound. From outside. A knock. On the glass, slow, deliberate. Caleb turned. The front window. He walked toward it slowly, his breath uneven, the light from his phone barely reaching. He reached the glass, looked out, and froze, because someone was standing there. A man, tall, still, looking directly at him. Caleb's voice shook. We're closed, no response. The man didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. Then, the man lifted his hand and knocked again. Slow, heavy. Caleb stepped back. That's not normal. Then, the man spoke. Through the glass, his voice low, distorted. You're still here. Caleb's chest tightened. What do you want? Silence. Then, I've been waiting. The emergency light flickered. Once, twice. Then, went out. Darkness swallowed everything. Caleb's breathing became loud, panicked. He pointed the flashlight toward the window. The man was gone, completely gone. Caleb stumbled back. No. Then, a sound. From inside the store. A step, soft, heavy. Caleb froze, slowly turned. The darkness felt closer now. Thicker, like it was alive. Then, another step, closer. Caleb's grip tightened on his phone. Who's there? No answer. Then, the voice. Right behind him. You locked me out. Caleb spun around. Nothing. But the air felt wrong, like something had moved past him. Then, the bell rang. The door opened. Caleb turned instantly. The door was still locked. But it was open. Slightly. Moving. Like someone had just walked in. Cold air rushed inside. Caleb stepped back. No. Then, footsteps. From inside. Walking. Slow. Deliberate. Toward him. Caleb backed away. His heart pounding violently. You're not real. The footsteps stopped. Right in front of him. Close enough to feel. Then, a breath. Cold. Against his face, I was here first. Caleb's legs weakened, his voice barely worked. Please. Silence. Then the lights came back
Need you
on,
to check the
suddenly,
delivery in
bright,
the back.
blinding.
All
Caleb
right, I'll do it
blinked,
right now.
looked around, the store was normal. Everything back, lights, machines, silence. The door was closed, locked. No one inside. Caleb gasped. What just? Then, he heard it, behind him. A voice, calm, familiar. Your shift isn't over. Caleb turned slowly, and saw himself, standing behind the counter, watching him, smiling. Too wide, too still. Caleb stumbled back. No, the other him stepped forward. You can go now. Caleb shook his head. This isn't real. I'll take your place. The smile widened. The eyes, empty. Then, everything went dark. Alolod Yula Klan yet. Alolod Klan. Alod Yula Klan. The next morning, the store opened like normal. Everything looked fine, clean, quiet. The new shift workers stood behind the counter. Calm. Normal. Too normal. Because when the manager checked the records, something didn't make sense. Caleb had never clocked out, and according to the system, he was still working. So next time you stop at a gas station late at night, and it feels empty, look again. Because sometimes, the worker behind the counter isn't the same one who started the shift.